Hi everyone. In the grand tradition of the Crafty Creative, we have industrial noise going on in the background. It's not the moving truck, it's the water, or not the water heater, the air conditioner slash heating unit, the whole HVAC thing getting replaced right now. So you hear a lot of banging and what is the other thing you're doing?
Brazing torches.
Brazing with torches. Okay, not brazing a roast, sadly, that'd be nice, but brazing copper pipes, which smells less nice. If only we had smell-o-vision over Twitch, you guys could experience this with me. So, it may look like zero progress has been made since the last stream, where you guys saw these delightful figures, based on this delightful figure, the Foreman from Blinka's Block Party, a video game you can play today. Right, I basically had to start the paint job over. I got to a point where the clean lines, to get this vinyl toy aesthetic, you need to have like perfect machine precision clean lines. I was using this Liquitex masking fluid. I also tried this Winsor & Newton masking fluid. Both of them bead up on the surface. They just turn into little beady balls, which do not give machine precision beautiful lines. Hiya, Anki. Yeah, so I basically stripped all of the paint progress that I made over the past week, stripped it all back, have been repriming, and of course, because some of the paint that I was using on this guy was glossy, the stuff that I didn't sand away perfectly ended up creating all these little surface perturbations, cracking and stuff like that, because the primer wants to do an even coat, but it's being repelled by the gloss coat underneath it. So I've been having to go back and forth doing more sanding and priming. And right now I'm kind of debating how I'm going to do this hairline. I'm kind of thinking, because I need such a perfect machine precision line, and I realize it's kind of hard to see with the lighting here. Let's see if I can make that clear. Yeah, so you can see some of the little bits of noise on the surface there, visual noise. And that's not the factory made product look that I'm going for. So yeah, and I was going in and sanding it back with like sanding sponges, files, etc. And no matter how much I go back and forth at what I think is kind of a 90-degree angle, I'm just not getting a super clean line there. So what I'm being tempted with right now is kind of to go nuclear on it, which is to essentially use a super heavy-handed, like a Dremel tool, and just like cut into the whole thing, and then go back in with epoxy sculpt and get that like perfectly clean line. But then I have to deal with re-blending everything, which is not nothing. It's another couple days of work. Not like 8-hour days, but you know, from my perspective. So another thing I'm gonna try that's a little less nuclear is this guy. Sadly, because I still don't have my workshop all set up, I cannot find the additional sanding pads for this. So as you can see, this one's worn pretty much down to the nub. I'm gonna see if I can just like unstick, rotate, and restick. Looks like it's got a pretty good stickability to it, so I might be able to. See that little bit of an imperfection there. I might be able to just sand that away. So I'm going to give that a try, do another primer pass, and maybe we won't have to go with the nuclear option. We'll see. I have a feeling I'm not going to know until I get the final like gloss coat on there, but vinyl toys have this particularly difficult to reproduce thing about them in that they're kind of soft and pillowy edges, right? But the paint line between them is like precise. So yeah, it's just particularly challenging to reproduce by hand. I can't wait to go back to making dragons and organic monsters again. These little kind of imperfections where there's just kind of a little divot on a big wide open space, super easy. Like, it's very easy to get clean, smooth surfaces this way. But where two angles merge, that's where things get really tricky. So another thing that I added since the last time we were around are these tattoo, I engraved the tattoos essentially, right? Because this is going to be super hard to hand paint on. I'm just not confident that I'd get an even coat or a consistent like line work. So what I did was I put on a thin layer of clay and just carved that in, and now I'm attempting to blend it in. There's a few places, oh, sorry, wasn't even in frame there. So here's the tattoo work. And then here is where you can see a little bit of a seam. Let's see if I rotate it just right. Yeah, you see that little bit of a seam there? That's where the clay, you know, I feathered it as well as I could onto there. But again, because this was painted with a gloss coat, it creates all sorts of issues that I'm now having to deal with. The other bonus noise feature I have on this house is that there's a speed bump, like a speed hump. I don't know, what are they called? The sign says speed bump, but it's more like a miniature mountain you have to drive over right in front of our house. So every industrial truck that needs to go over there, it's just like, sounds like an earthquake of metal falling over. Got a little bit of imperfect bumpiness between the fingers. That it's like one of those things probably no one would notice, but it just annoys me, so I gotta do some flossing in between these fingers here. Hey, Navis. Foreman needs the company logo at the back of the beard. Oh man, looking forward to seeing that. Man, Tobin's doing the same thing I'm doing right now. I'm sanding flossing between fingers, and he's sanding flossing between copper pipes. We got true synergy going on here. Primer coat number 9,000,038 going on here. I've got a pipeline here. I sand a piece, I prime a piece, and every time I prime one, I take the last one I primed and put it down by the heater so it could rapid dry the primer, which, you know what, might actually be problematic. Probably not supposed to like have it over a certain temperature. see, the lighting is at a different angle in my spray booth, so sometimes I pick up on little imperfections that I can't see here. That's a very annoying feeling in the bees. Is it because of a prop that I made in Blankos? One of the other unfortunate things I learned through this process is that this blue painter's tape does not leave the paint under it unmolested. So everywhere that I used it, I had to tear it off and re-prime. Oh, nice cat jam, Reaper John. So the exciting discovery that I made this week is that while these guys don't work for what I'm doing, this much more economical version of it is superior in literally every way when it comes to masking off areas on a sculpture. So I want to say these were at least $15, somewhere around there. And I think this thing was 25 or something, and it is, I don't know, how much is in here? 32 ounces versus 4 ounces, right? So if I'm doing my math right, that is approximately 683 times more. And no, I never do the math right, so don't try to check me on that. You already know the answer is wrong. Yeah, this was one of the problems with this stuff as well, is that it's so transparent that there are places where I think it's covering where it's not, and places where it's not covering that I think it is, and that just doesn't make for a good time. See, I've got this nice blue patch from the clothing on my shoe. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm scraping off all the little rubber boogers in here now. Yeah, I think there must be just like a super thin, like microscopically thin coat of the rubber over this part. Where I feel like maybe the paint actually, because of the aerosols in it or the whatever it is that's in spray paint, actually eats through enough of it that it kind of fuses with the rubber and then gets to the layer underneath it. That is my theory. Anyone been watching anything fun on the old streaming services lately? I'm coming close to running out again. We're almost done with Foundation. Oh, actually, that reminds me. There's a show that rhymes with Foundation that I wanted to watch called Invasion. I guess it doesn't technically rhyme, but it's close. Arcane? I don't even know what that is. Oh, right. I do know what that is. About characters from League of Legends or whatever. League of Legends or the other one. I can never remember which company does which thing. What's the one that's not League of Legends, but pretty much the same? I should know. I have a friend who's working on the one that Valve does. I mean, I have friends who work on both of them, I guess, come to think of it. That album just keeps playing remixes of like the same 3 songs. And I like those songs, but I don't want to hear 100 remixes of the same song all in a row. Thank you. Thanks, but no thanks. Your friend plays the other one, and you also can't think of what it's called. Is it Defense of the Ancients? Dota! It's Dota! That's the one. And I also can't remember which is the one that Riot does and which is the one that Valve does. I think Dota is Valve? Like they bought the team that made the, because it was originally a mod for Warcraft 3 or something. Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks for bringing in your truth. It's time for a little truth on this stream, instead of the rampant speculation going on. And now here's the question that I don't know because I've barely played either of them. I feel like I played both of them well over 5 or 6 years ago. And only a handful of times just for like competitive analysis purposes. But here's the question. Is the comparison between them like, is it a Coke and Pepsi thing where they're more or less the same, it just depends on the flavor you like? Is it like a Disney and Warner Brothers thing where it's like Disney technically had like more technical proficiency to their work, but Warner Brothers had a lot more like flair, flavor, and character, you know? Is it that sort of thing? Or is it more like a Coke and RC Cola thing where one is just kind of a cheap knockoff that is practically the same, but no one cares because everyone's going to go for the name brand? I feel like I hear a lot more about League of Legends than I hear about Dota. Like literally all I've heard about Dota within the past several years is what my friend who works on it has talked to me about. Very similar in design, towers and bases, etc. Yep, Dota has more micromanagement mechanics. Okay. League's a lot more accessible to the mass market. Dota is harder in its mechanical ceiling. Gotcha. Is one of them, I know one of them is like one of the top competitive games, like as far as like you could make serious money and like they fill up stadiums. Which is the one that's filling up stadiums with people for the esport element? One of my friends used to go to watch the live, you know, yearly competition or whatever. And I want to say he's working for them now? Question mark? Sorry, Byron, if you're watching. I'm just really disappointed in me. That's what happens when you've been in the industry so long. You have friends working on pretty much everything, but since everyone moves around so frequently, you can't be sure who or when or where. Dota does the international, which is huge, but League of Legends has weekly leagues all around the world and huge international tournaments. Their World is going on right now, and like 1 million people watching. Jeez Louise. It's amazing how many things exist in this world that just have massive numbers and are super popular, and that, and like, no one can know about all of these things, right? It's just flies completely under the radar for most people in the world, but then there's these huge sub-segments of the world that are just absolutely into them. Been watching Pro League since 2009. Wow. Are there any teams or individuals that compete in both League and Dota? team solo made. I find that both hilarious and wonderful that there are esports teams that have merch and brands. Are they like bought and sold by millionaires, you know, like does Jeff Bezos own one of the teams? Yeah, you got it. Just like in real sports, you got to practice 8 to 10 hours a day. Good Lord. And I hid a precise tool I want right now. I hid it for myself. Fairly common move for me to pull. The most awkward little place to try to sand into right here. I could just sand off the mustache and just like have the full plane of the face and then redo, because I mean the mustache is literally just like a slug shape, right? So if I knew I was going to have to do so much sanding down here, I would have done that at the beginning, but now I've got that thing where like, oh, I worked so hard at it now, this would be like hardly worth it at this point. $10 million deal with some company called FTX, a Bitcoin thing. Okay. FaZe Clan, another esports org, just went public with a SPAC merger that is estimated at $100 billion. What? Yeah, shocking. The company that I worked for just went public with our latest round of funding and got valuated at I think 1.25 billion. And it's like, we're a little company of a couple hundred people, so that's pretty impressive. Don't know if that translates into suddenly I'm going to get rich someday, but hasn't happened yet. We'll see. Sadly, I was not a founder. Got in fairly early. It's like employee 30 something. It's like valuations are just this weird made-up number by... I don't even understand the mechanism or the mechanics behind where they concoct those numbers. Probably has to do with that we're building a kind of a, not blockchain, wow, that word that everyone's been talking about this past year. It's not FTL, but that's all that's coming to my brain right now. We're building an FTL engine, you guys. The first game company to make a faster than light engine. NFT, that's the one. Wow. Yeah, you can tell how much I care about the money back end of things. I also don't know what a SPAC is. I keep hearing about this new thing called a SPAC. I listen to the podcast Pivot, and they're talking about them all the time, but they've never stopped to define it, and I've never been at a place where I'm ready to actually Google it in the middle of a podcast, you know? And then by the time I'm at a place where I can Google it, I've forgotten that I cared. So this hairline is actually really nice and smooth. I'm really happy with this one. Not coincidentally, this is the one that I did not do the glossy skin paint on. I left one only primed and not painted so that I could get it molded. And yeah, not surprisingly, it's a lot cleaner. Something to do with parent companies, with how things are traded in the stock market. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's related to all these things, but I have no idea what the relation is or how legit it is. But apparently it's a newish phenomenon or financial product or vehicle or platform. I don't know. I just hear all these words. I barely understand what our company did. Round C funding, right? Which is like, it's the third time you go out and you say that individual investors, but at this point mostly large company and investment groups, hey, we're doing this thing, you want to give us money, and then when we make it big, you get a big, you know, I don't know how much, what the like risk reward ratio is. Probably depends on the company, and they're always different, but a bunch of the really big companies, especially those that are in the crypto space, put in a ton of money to this last one for us. So we've got a lot of runway, which is good for job security for me. Yay. That's really all I care about. Well, I care about job security, and I care about working on a game that I legitimately enjoy. That's really even more. So the fact that I have job security at a company that also happens I get to be working on a game that I really enjoy, that's living the good life. It only took 26 years to get here, but I'm finally here. And of course, I realize saying that I have job security is like begging the universe to come and take it away from me, so I should probably shut up about that. Whoa! Wow. I'm shocked nothing snapped off when that happened. Have a little bit of a divot right there. Not happy about that because everything else is so pristine at like, and it's not big, it's like just over that threshold where I'm like, now I need to deal with it somehow. Maybe just a little bit of subtle sanding will knock it back under that threshold. There's still a little dent, but now it's just under my annoyance threshold, so I can live with it. So. It's going to be really interesting. After I finish these guys, I'm going to be doing some terrain to match. That's more in this kind of vinyl style. So I've never done like super stylized terrain like that. It's going to be really interesting. I think it'll be easier than doing the character. I hope. We'll see. He needs a little platform to stand on and a little backdrop. And my hope is to make it look like the actual like build assets in the game. PT. Look out on this in-between stage, it looks like a toasted marshmallow. Oh, wait. There it is. Toasted marshmallow. Man, it's delicious. Wait a minute. This is the... Oh, this one needs to go to white. Okay. That actually looks pretty crisp. I think it's actually almost there. Just like... Hi, Disfamous. Definitely the one that feels like it's in the worst shape. It's just like See all these little ripples around that line there as you see the highlight pass over it, and that's just the thing that makes it look like not a factory produced toy, you know what I mean? And if you start sanding primer a little too soon, like before it's really cured well enough, you start pulling little gummy booger balls and messing up the surface more. So it's like this delicate balance between time, patience, and your material. Trying to tread lightly here. I'm doing all right. Really looking forward to being done with this project. I've been trying to make this, well, I guess technically 4 of these little guys for a month now. More than a month if you count like getting my 3D printer set up and like going through that whole learning curve, getting the failures out of the way, etc. So ready to be done. I think whether I'm done or not, next week I'll move on to something a little more interesting. I mentioned I want to make some vinyl toy style terrain, and so I'll probably start on that. I think that'll be a fun project to watch me fumble my way through, going from like, you know, I'm used to doing this kind of like, there it is, we can find it, we can do it, this kind of thing, right, where it's like fairly realistic rocks and then diorama type stuff like that, right, but then trying to figure out, okay, how do I take the skills I've developed doing that and make something that looks like this weird, like vinyl, plasticky terrain. It's gonna be interesting, to say the least. Which I did not just do. I'm not very good at saying the least. I'm good at saying a little bit more than is necessary, and sometimes a lot more. Okay, looks like we're at a couple minutes till I gotta bail, so let's go ahead and start looking for someone to raid. In the meantime, I will beg, plead, and cajole you all to go to Amazon.com. It's this little website owned by this very bold space adventurer, Jeff Bezos. But on that website you can find 2 of my books. The Scarred King Book 1 Exile, Scarred King Book 2 Journey, Scarred King 3 coming at some point. They're full of my illustrations, maps, just all sorts of cool stuff in here. Check out my YouTube channel where I do more edited tutorials on stuff. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, all that stuff. Follow me in all the places. They're all listed up there. Thanks everyone. I will sand us out. It's like playing us out, but sanding us out. If the Titanic were sinking, I would be there sanding for everyone's entertainment.